seen City in the past get themselves into good positions, and after a good result, they would then drop points against what looked on paper an easy tie. What has changed this season?
Well, he had a year to work with him. He had a year to get rid of what he considered a dead wood. Right, players that were pretty good players, but he considered them either over the hill or not fitting what he wants to do. Got a shot at them, tightened up in his own mistakes, which were a couple of his signings, particularly the goalkeeper. Got his full-backs in. Started to get a tune out of certain players, particularly Raheem Sterling. Yeah. Got even more out of Kevin De Bruyne, which is hard to think of, and is able to rotate Aguero and Gabriel Jesus. And everybody seems to be focused at City and absolutely keeping this going. It's not like, wait, that's us now, we're the greatest and we're going to win the league. He's demanding of the players and they're producing it every week.
Steve, you won 5 league titles. Yep. How difficult is this sort of run to put together?
Oh, listen, I can't tell you how difficult it is, but what I will tell you is the reason they've done it, obviously the players on the field take a huge part in that because they are absolute quality. Defensively, he's tightened up. Yep. They're better going forward. But the way they come out game after game after game is 100% down to the manager. You know, they've got a manager who, regardless of the score, regardless of the opposition, he's holding every single one of them to a standard. And whenever they drop below that, you guarantee he's in their face telling them. And that, obviously, winning makes it a lot easier. But for me, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest reason. When you're as good as they are, the way they're performing so consistently is down to the manager.
For me, the big difference between Manchester City this year and last year is I felt at times the team last year started to believe their own hype, especially after they beat Manchester United. Had a great start to the season, and then everybody's talking about how good they were. We were questioning whether they would go, or how far they'd go unbeaten, how soon they'd win the title. And then they had a bad result, and they just couldn't get it back together. That'll be the test for this team. When a poor result does come along, or when somebody does get the better of you, if you can just pick back up where you left off. All signs are that absolutely yes, that's not an issue. But I think that is a big difference in mentality between Manchester City this season and last.
They're playing to win the Premier League, but they're also playing probably for a starting place in the quarter-final of the Champions League, right? Barring Basel doing something extraordinary or City doing something stupid. These players are all focused on a potential quarter-final of the Champions League after the Basel game and who's going to be in the team. But I think more so than that, I think the coach wants to make a statement. And that statement is, last year, a lot of people and a lot of media press conferences were, well, can you do it in England? Yeah. You know, can you handle the English style? Can you handle the tackling? Particularly after that game where they lost at Leicester by 4. Well, they lost 4 goals at Leicester and they were all over the place. And he got very upset about the line of questioning. And I think he wants to make a mark this year. I think he wants to win it as early as he can, with as big a gap as he can, so as he can walk into the press room and say, there you go.
And not only that, I suppose the big question is now not whether or not Manchester City can win the title, but if they can go through the whole season unbeaten. 21 games to go. You know, the countdown's already on.
I'd have to say no, just purely from a historical standpoint. It is so difficult. Yep. And guaranteed, there's going to be one day, because it happens to everybody. I don't care how good you are, regardless of the players you have. There's always that one game where, for some inexplicable reason, the guys don't turn up.
But Arsenal, I suppose, did it. You know, they set the standard.
But that's it. We're talking, what, many times it's been done in 100 years once? That tells you how difficult it is.
Manchester United looking to bounce back after that derby defeat against City, and they did so with a 1-0 victory over Bournemouth at Old Trafford. Romelu Lukaku, who you've doubted, Stevie, rubbing that in your face, the only goal of the game.
He shouldn't have been on the field. He should have got sent off after 5 minutes.
There was a challenge on Ake, wasn't it?
He made a horrendous challenge on Ake. The ball had well gone. And he catches him just above his ankle. It was a red card. If the referee had seen it properly, because he was a good 35, 40 yards away, And in the end, he only gave a foul. He didn't even give him a yellow card. But I'd say if the referee had seen it properly, red card
Do you
all
agree,
day
boys?
long.
Was it a red
No,
card?
I have to say, at first look, I thought it was a yellow. Watching the game, and when it happened, I thought it was a yellow. Looking at the replays, though, you could quite easily see how that could have been red, should have been red. But Steve's right, the referee's just too far away, given how the play kind of developed, and as a result, got that wrong.
The referee was, he never even, I mean, I thought it was a red, clear. He never even gave him a yellow.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the referee, I don't know this referee. It's not, you know, and if you watch the Premier League, you're kind of familiar with all the experienced referees. I personally have not seen this guy before, and he looked like he was under the floodlights of Old Trafford, and he panicked a little bit, and he got it completely wrong. Because I tell you what, Bournemouth in the first half, prior to the Lukaku goal, which, by the way, came against the running play, Bournemouth were excellent.
Yeah.
Do you know one of the reasons I think nothing happened?
Why?
You know, we're often talking about diving and play acting and throwing yourself to the ground. Well, Aki, for me, is the one reason the ref didn't do anything. As soon as Aki's gone down, the referee, you see the referee putting his hand in his pocket, and then from nowhere, Aki gets up and jogs off. And just because of Aki's reaction, I think that's why the
You
referee
think Aki could have sold it better?
If Aki had done what 99% of players today do, he could have rolled around for another 5 minutes, and at least it would have been a yellow. Instead, he was an honest player. Whether you admire that or not in today's game, I don't know. But that's why nothing happened.
I don't think that's on Aki. I think that's just on the referee being weak, because you saw him near the end of the game. Bournemouth get a free kick. Manchester United close it down well ahead of the play. He puts the whistle to his mouth, and then for some strange reason allows play on to continue, which Bournemouth can make nothing of. That's just weak refereeing. That's not about a player getting up. That's not about getting the advantage. That's just about a poor referee on the night.
Don't we have to give United some credit, though, getting it done after all of the criticism they've received?
If we want to talk about if we want to talk about 3 points, then yes, right? But if we want to talk about, once again, David De Gea having to have a busy night, not as busy as he was at Arsenal, but a busy night and having to make some good saves, and United defence were under pressure. If that's what United have become, you know, first half getting a bit of a battering, to be honest, with Bournemouth, and at the end of the game hanging on.
Yeah.
If that's what United have become, then they're going in the wrong direction.
Look, and the difference between Manchester City getting last-minute winners when they had that dip in form that I was just talking about, and Manchester United doing almost the same, is this has become expected from Manchester United, even against teams like Bournemouth. It's the odd occurrence, it's the exception of Manchester
We're not just
City.
seeing how key Pogba is. Obviously, Pogba's still suspended for this game. Is that not a fair excuse?
We're talking Bournemouth here. We're talking at home to Bournemouth. If you offer me Pogba as an excuse against Manchester City, against Arsenal, against somebody else in the top 6, fine. But we're talking Bournemouth. If your excuse about struggling at home to Bournemouth is missing one player, then Manchester United definitely in the wrong place, especially given their spending.
David De Gea had to make a couple of saves again. Listen, if this is a boxing match, this is a flat-out draw.
Right.
So Bournemouth at home, and they should have got a point. That ain't champion material for me. They just weren't sharp in the final third. You know, Carrius did make a couple of saves. But really, Liverpool did dominate the game and carried the whole game pretty much, but couldn't produce. You know, they had 2 or 3 chances early on in the second half, but for the last 20, 25 minutes, there really wasn't anything of note. There was a disallowed goal.
Where do you stand on that, by the way?
No, it was the correct decision. You know, when a player puts the ball in off his arm, then there's no way you can give it. But other than that, you know, you can't say that West Brom's goalie Foster stood on his head because they just didn't have the shooting boots on, they weren't sharp, and they got pretty much in what they deserved in the end of it, and that was just a point.
So just yesterday we were talking about how you want more from these teams that are chasing City, and it's just not happening, is it?
No, it's not happening, and it's disappointing, really, you know, to see such a big gap between City and the rest. But West Brom have got a new manager in Alan Pardew, and when you've got a new manager, the first thing they always try and do is just, no matter where they go, even at home, is just be organised.
Yeah.
West Brom are a particularly well-organised side. They haven't been this season, that's why Tony Pulis lost his job, but they generally are a tough nut to crack, and that's what Liverpool found.
Look, the truth is nobody's catching City, and I don't think anybody has their focus on City. And maybe if somebody are a little bit closer, they'll be a little bit more focused and you get better results out of them. But the race is for...
Liverpool got to be focused, surely.
Not in catching City.
No, but just in general to win a match.
And that's my point. Everybody who isn't Manchester City is thinking about getting into the top 4 and no more. And if you see the likes of Arsenal dropping points and Manchester United struggling to find real form, then, you know, you have a little bit of an excuse then. But right now, everybody, as you'd expect, are within touching distance of the top 4. Nobody's catching City, and you just wonder if that's playing into the psyche as to why you have some performances like you do from Liverpool today.